Hello, Secret Keepers. We've all heard about playing cat and mouse, but today's guest has helped introduce the world to a new trope, shark and octopus. Today, we talk to Laia Gonzalez of Wonderbow Games about the story of Kelp, publishing games, surviving Kickstarter, and the European game market. That and so much more on today's episode of the Megamoth Studios Super Secret Podcast. Don't tell anyone about it. Welcome back to the show, Secret Keepers. I'm your host, parody theme song writing phenom, Joel Watts, joined as always by
Dark Ages Joel apologist, Danny.
No need to apologize for that guy, Danny. He was awesome. He was cool. He definitely had a lineage that's, made it all the way to America. And today we are joined by Laia Gonzalez of Wonderbow Games. Hi, Laia. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good. It's already very late here, but I'm still in a good mood.
Well, thank you for staying on late with us.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you're still in a good mood. We'll try to get through all of your wonderful information about Kickstarter and about Kelp and about just being in the game industry. We'll try to get this conversation going fast so you can get to bed soon. But before we get to that conversation, let's get to the truly hard-hitting question and that is the question of the week. Are you ready for this? Okay. This week's question, I think it could be a controversial one. This could be an entire podcast worth of question, just so you know. So, we'll try to keep it short. But what do you hope George R.R. Martin handles differently in the final books of A Song of Ice and Fire versus what the final season of the television show did?
Oh, that is a whole podcast for sure. So, first of all, Daenerys shouldn't be portrayed as badly as she was portrayed in the series. So that's it. Then we should get a more story about Arya traveling the world after all, I think. I like that Sansa becomes the queen. That should be said.
Yeah, that's good.
I agree with that. I was a big Sansa stan.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I actually saw really cool YouTube videos how the last episode was re-edited so that it made sense from
really?
people that just took like some of the most important scenes and just made it a different order, and then it was like, okay, that now makes sense, because it does make sense that the Lannisters ring the bells and then Daenerys still attacks, because for the whole series we got a setup that she's actually kind of a nice person. Of course she wants to dominate the world, but she was kind of a nice person, so it doesn't make sense
like
that she attacks. That's the only point. Yeah. True.
I mean,
So,
I definitely was. I wasn't the big. Her doing that for me wasn't like the biggest portrayal of the show. It was more just like the general lack of, I guess, intellect from other characters. Like everybody like had a brain dump and forgot how to be like as cunning and as clever as they were throughout the rest of the series, it felt like. And I think they could have justified it. Like, I'm sure in the book, if the same thing happens with Daenerys going Mad King on, the red, King's Landing. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the names of every place. I'm sure in the books it would make a lot more sense, by the time they get there. But in the show, it was sort of like, oh, and now she's crazy, and the show doesn't have the benefit of the internal monologue. My big thing, I've told this to Danny before, is I felt like they handled the situations in the wrong order. You don't tackle the existential threat to the entire world and then go and take care of the political squabbles. I think they should have had to have, done the King's Landing, like we have to get the kingdom as one to fight off the White Walkers, and then they should have gone up, and the final scenes and the final battle should have all been at Winterfell.
Yeah, I think for sure. And they should skip the romantic story of Jaime Lannister and I don't remember her name. You know who I mean?
Cersei?
It's like
Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, Brienne of Tarth. Yeah, it's like Brienne of Tarth is not a wuss falling in love for someone. Like, she's such a cool character. She shouldn't be like, oh, I'm so sad, Jamie Lannister, because you want to go to your sister now. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I felt like the pacing of the whole show, it just felt really, really phoned in because they had spent so much time letting scenes breathe and storylines breathe through so many seasons. And then we get to the final and it's just like they cram everything. They don't really let the exposition breathe. We don't feel like we're living through it. It just feels like we're checking off a list of things we need to wrap it up so we can get to our Star Wars movie, deal that we've got. For me, I always wish that Cersei would have escaped and got to the other side, and then like in a sort of an epilogue we see her encountering Arya over there, and then that's because I felt like Arya needed to kill Cersei in that show. Like I felt like I really wanted that payoff, and then we never got it, and it was a little disappointing. So
we probably wanted to see that more than her killing the Night King.
100%.
Well, but that was cool though.
That was cool.
That with this and then dropping the knife and just stabbing her.
So cool.
It was cool. But I didn't feel necessarily satisfied by it, but it was a cool moment. But yeah, I do agree with Danny. I think our Cersei finally coming face to face. Like they didn't even have a real confrontation after all that time. Like Arya and Cersei's face to face is something that we would have wanted to see. Like just them exchanging words, even if it didn't end in one of their deaths.
Yeah. And Cersei is such a strong character. She shouldn't have died like in the arms of her brother. She deserved differently. Yeah.
I mean, even if it was just her like screaming in the throne room as the dragon fire comes into her, comes in and engulfs her, I think that would have been a much more cinematic death for her.
I wanted to see her living in poverty I forget what the other side, just like completely being humbled, and then when you think that like she's received a fate, and like has just been humbled so much, that's when Arya shows up with a different face, kind of thing. Like it just felt like it would have been more poetic, but they had a career to get to. I guess they couldn't finish Game of Thrones strong. They had only the whole world paying attention to what they were doing. So
yeah, and that's what we call fumbling the bag, because I think that the careers of those two showrunners has kind of petered out since then. It's like nobody's going to forgive them for ending Game of Thrones poorly. Excellent.
Still a great job, though.
I think that
overall, yeah. High marks overall.
Yeah,
just didn't stick the landing.
Possibly
it's okay. The flight was okay. What does it matter if it crashed in the end?
Crashed on the runway. Yep, that's not going to be good for the pilots. Anyways.
Ever dreamed of embarking on legendary quest, unlocking hidden secrets, and discovering untold riches? Dive into the world of X Seekers of Fortune. It's the game that's soon to be taking the internet by storm. Sign up today at xseekersoffortune.com and start your journey to greatness. Remember, fortune favors the bold. See you there.
Well, like we said, that could be an entire episode of our show, and maybe it should be an entire episode of our show in the future. But right now, we should probably get moving on to the main topic today, and that's your story. So we wanted to start with, we always like to start with the origin story. So what would you say is your gaming origin story? Did you grow up in a gaming household, or did you discover it like once you started going to school and interacting with friends?
Yeah, so I didn't really grow up with a lot of board games around me. Like my parents did buy here and there the Spiel des Jahres, the one game that the Germans award, kind of. And so my husband as well, he was in a typical, like every year Spiel des Jahres, family sits together and then they play. Like my husband and I are the ones that run Wonderbow, that's why I mention him. And actually, my music high school teacher is the one designer that invented Carcassonne.
Really?
Somehow I already had a really, yeah.
Your high school music teacher invented Carcassonne?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Klaus
wow.
Jürgen Brede
So-
was my music teacher when I was in high school. Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty
crazy.
solid connection right there. There's like a gaming genealogy going through that right there. That's awesome.
through the school, yeah. Actually, he was my teacher when he hadn't done Carcassonne yet. So, and I only had him in fifth and sixth grade, and then I never heard back from him until my brother graduated, and he came back and was invited to have a speech at the graduation, and then there he was already a famous game designer, and we were like, oh, that's fun, that's the one that made Carcassonne. I actually started gaming more when my husband brought me into the hobby, kind of. So
Well, that's couple that games together stays together. We love hearing that.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I do-
And at the beginning, he was like, yeah, so I have a lot of board games on my shelf. We should play. And I was like, okay, let's play. And then I liked it. We had game groups. We played together. And now I'm the one saying like, okay, let's buy more board games because we don't have enough yet. And he's like, no, let's don't buy more board games. So it has totally switched now.
Well, you're in that
love
fortunate
it.
space, and you've elevated to that fortunate space where I don't think you have to buy a board game. You'll be pretty satiated if you never buy a board game again, I'm sure. Like, people are probably begging for you to take their games. Now, I did want to pause and go back a moment because you mentioned this German game, and we're Americans and we're Texans to be specific. I have not heard of this German game, and maybe it's a translation issue. Maybe I have heard of this game, but can you tell us more about this game that every German family plays once a year?
Oh, the Spiel des Jahres. I mean, well, that's not a game itself. It's the yearly award that's like the most famous board game award that Germany
okay.
gives out. It's
Yeah,
the
it's like
Spiel
best
des
game.
Jahres award. So every year is a different game, and like in my husband's family, every year they bought that game that was awarded because that's what Germans do. They buy this game and play it together. And my parents did here and there, but not every year for sure. They did buy the Carcassonne, of course, and I remember visiting them on Christmas, and they brought it out, and they were like, "Look, that's from your teacher." And I was like, "Really? That's weird."
Yeah, that's exactly how I would have responded as a teenager or whatever. I would have been like, "Oh, that's weird."
Yeah, very weird.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it's always
impressed.
weird when
That's
you're
weird.
Yeah. It's weird when your teachers have a life outside of school. Like the idea of like seeing your teacher at the grocery store is just like, no, that can't be.
Yeah, I thought
They
they
should be
slept
locked
at the
up in a
school.
closet somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so I've probably heard about that award, but I've probably only seen it in writing and probably was like, I'll learn how to pronounce that later. But so it's like kind of the Oscars for board games, and just like with the Oscars, the movie that wins Best Picture gets a second life and goes on to have like another box office run. And so when a board game wins the award, everybody kind of just decides that that's the good game to buy this year.
Yeah, and you immediately make like a huge print run because it will be sold everywhere.
Oh, that's
Okay.
crazy.
Good to know
That's
what we're aiming
awesome.
for. So we did want to know, you started playing advanced games with your husband, and that's where, essentially the origin story of your company is playing games with your husband. When he tried to get you into games, what was the first one that he pulled off the shelf that he was like, this one's going to lock you in? Or which one was the first one that really got you?
I don't remember which one was the first, but I remember playing Zombicide and really liking it. Like from the Simon games, just a cooperative game, very friendly. It was a good entry game for me because I could get into the story of having like a lot of zombies and the miniatures and just like things happening on the board. Now I'm at the point where I actually don't really like cooperative games. Like I'm very competitive, so that switched as well. But it was a good entry. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, we're
So-
big on. Well, we're actually right now developing our game to be both. We've developed the competitive side, but we do know that there's a lot of people who don't like competitive games. They like cooperative games. So now we're also developing X Seekers of Fortune to have a cooperative mode because of that sort of thing. Like, a lot of people don't really pick up the competitive side of things until they get into the game as a cooperative game.
So Wonderbow, how did you guys go from we're dating, playing games to we're married and we are making games?
Yeah, so actually we're dating and got married and founded a company a couple of years ago. So we've been working together for like 8 years or something. Already we worked before together in the agency, but we have our own company like since around about 8 years, and we do marketing and video production, photo production and stuff to earn our money. But we always had the goal to spend the money that we earn in creative projects. So we started making documentaries and we published a book and things like that. So at some point, my husband also designed a card game. And we had the idea to publish this game as one of our many other projects that we were doing. So the one year we made a documentary, the other one made a book, and then 2022 in the beginning we said like, oh, let's do the card game now because we have this project on the table like for so long, we should just get it out. And we actually started doing it and started getting into kind of the industry, as you would say. So I started getting in touch with other publishers in Germany and asking questions just to learn like how are we gonna like connect, how can we get this to stores. It wasn't our first Kickstarter then because we had already done Kickstarters or crowdfunding campaigns for the documentaries, but we actually liked the people so much that we got in touch with that we said maybe we should just try to do this as our like exit plan from advertising. So at some point we want to work only for board games and not be not have to work for our advertising clients.
It really feels like the game industry sucks you in. Like we felt that way. I think we did not expect to be pulled into the industry as quickly as we were. Everyone is, at least in our experience, very friendly and generous with their time.
Yeah.
And you make friends quick, and it's been a ride for sure.
Yeah, and those are people that share your interest. They share your kind of business ideas or passions, but you can also hang out with them and play games. So
yeah, that's a nice benefit, right?
yeah, exactly.
It's really hard to hang out with people who are making movies and make a movie just on the spur. You know, I guess you could watch movies together, but it's not quite the same practice.
No.
Unless you're watching the movie to criticize it and say how you would do it differently. That's awesome that y'all have so many. You're wearing so many different hats, and like creativity seems to be the core thing that brings it all together. You said you made a documentary. What was the subject matter, and what was your role on the documentary?
Well, we have questions about that later, Joel. That we
do down
cover.
Down the line.
Elsewhere, okay. Alone in Africa, and the world's fastest.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
we can
we'll
cover
get to that
later.
later.
I have a whole section for filmmaking later that we can touch on.
Okay. Well, in that case, we'll just switch it up then. I guess what you made mention like your goal in becoming a game publisher was to get out of advertising. Have you succeeded? Like, has this success of Kelp gotten you to the place where you now are just a game publisher, or just not doing the advertising, work creativity for money?
Not yet. It has definitely accelerated it, but we are still working for other clients. Also, just because we have long-lasting relationships with them, and we have helped them like also make longer projects for their company. So we are not going to be like, okay, bye, we're gone now. Also, we are reducing it for sure, just because the day only has 24 hours, and we still have to like finish Kelp, and we have taken out on new projects. But we hope at some point we will hopefully make this switch. But actually, the few clients that we have now are also very nice, so we also like working for them.
Where did the name Wonderbow come from?
Oh, we just came up with it. It's like
sounds familiar.
Yeah. It's like a wonder bow where we want to send people through it so they enjoy the board game life.
I love it.
Like, is this a bow like pull and shoot the arrow, or is this a different kind of bow that I'm not thinking?
No, it's like a rainbow.
Oh, like a rainbow. Okay.
Yeah, the logo's
so like an arc.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think has been most challenging or unexpected about getting into board game publishing?
That's a good question. Because I think the most challenging part is figuring out how to sell the games, because sales is the most difficult part. I don't think, for me or for us, it wasn't that difficult entering, because everyone was so welcoming already. So we had another startup on for a few years that we are closing down now, where we brought an alcohol-free craft beer to market. That was a very, very different thing, because the industry wasn't that welcoming, and it was very, very difficult to sell drinks in glass bottles. So a very different product to handle. But in board games, I didn't feel that it was that difficult. I think the most difficult thing is to find a really good game that you can just make really, really well, develop really well, and present it to the people that they actually like it and buy it. So that's the most challenging thing. But the industry itself has been so open, so it wasn't difficult to enter, kind of.
Did you feel like with Kelp, the majority of the people who were buying it were from the hobby, or did you find people outside the hobby who were interested in the subject matter?
I think we found people from outside, because we had, like, from the 21,000 backers that we had, more than 4,000 hadn't used Kickstarter before. So wow. This actually shows that they aren't really in the Kickstarter world, and you have to kind of really be into board games if you do Kickstarters, because you don't just go to the shop and buy it. So it was a learning for sure, that we had to do a lot of education with those people, because they were like, oh, I like the game, and then after the campaign they sent us messages like, are we getting it for Christmas? And I was like, oh no, wait, no, you have to wait for a long time now.
Patience.
Yeah.
That reminds me of what we heard about Botany with Dustin Droz. It's just like, like pulling in people, having a subject matter so exciting that pulls in people who aren't normal gamers. I mean, that's like, definitely in the this expanding hobby, we have to expect that any one game could be somebody's first real game.
And I think it's a beautiful thing, to be honest. Like explaining the crowdfunding process was. In the beginning was like, oh wow, okay, that we have to do too, because we weren't that prepared for it, because we were going to a lot of board game conventions and just gathering our crowd from kind of the board game space already. But it's really nice to get in touch with kind of people that are discovering the game or board games for the first time. And when we told them, no, listen, you are now helping us manufacture the game, and then it will be shipped, and it will take a little bit of time. We will charge you for shipping again later, so don't be scared when we ask you for money again. It's normal and stuff like that. And their reaction was like, oh, okay, cool, now I understand. All good, fine. So that was really nice. Yeah.
And so Kelp obviously is the big game right now. How did you first learn about Kelp? What was your first moment where Kelp entered your life? What was that like?
So we were standing in Essen 2 years ago, 2022, and the designer came up to us, and he had researched us because we did a Kickstarter on that year for the card game Hunters of the Lost Creatures, and he told us that he had researched us because he liked how we did the Kickstarter, because we put a lot of love into little details of the campaign, and we had the community very involved and stuff like that. And I remember just being there, like selling the game, and then Sönke, who's my husband, he came up to me and he was like, hey, there was a guy just there, he pitched a game to us, it's really good, Shark versus Octopus, I'll tell you later, but I really think it's something. And I was like, okay, and then I kept selling that. And then after, on that same day, Sönke came up to me over and over again saying like, yeah, I just thought about it, that's 2-player and asymmetric, and he kept just telling me about the pitch, because after that I learned that Sönke was also very busy when Carl came up to us, but he was so triggered by the pitch that he just left everything just as is and just listened to Carl and to the pitch. So I was like, okay, he was so fascinated by it, then I thought, okay, that is very, very cool. And I remember driving home that night, And we were in the car discussing it. Can we do that? It's so much bigger than the card game we were just doing. But if we do it well, this could be something really good for us. It's such a unique game, and we were just so excited. And I spent like 4 hours researching shark and octopus videos on YouTube on that night. Although I had to get up early on the next day to go to the convention again and stand there and sell games, you know. But I was so fascinated, like my mind just started running like, okay, shark, octopus, what's the story we're gonna tell? How can we make the landing page? How can we tell people about it? What's the images we can do? So everything, like the head just started spinning like right away. So that was our first day with Kelp.
That's what we live for in this hobby, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I feel like that's what... Sorry, Danny. I think I'm going to go ahead and just go. I think that's what we live for, that head spinning, that excitement, all the ideas, like the opening of a new world to you and just like being able to go in and discover it. When Kelp was presented to you at that, it was called Shark versus Octopus, or at least that was like the placeholder name. I mean, how far along, how fully formed was it at that time versus what it became, and how involved were you in that process in like, you know, fine-tuning the game itself?
So it was called Kelp, and we actually thought for a short period of time if we should change the name, but we researched that Kelp, like the actual plants that are called Kelp in many, many languages, which is crazy. Because in German, you can use the scientific word then for Kelp, and in other languages as well. So we thought like, oh, that's great. One word is very unique. You can remember it, and it works for so many languages, so we'll keep it. And we, as the publishers, added Shark versus Octopus to it, because we felt that Shark versus Octopus as the subtitle immediately explains what the game is about. 2 players, different roles, and confrontation. That's kind of what you get. So that's what we added. And
nice.
The game was very well designed and very well developed already. So we didn't change a lot. We did streamline a few things, and we did change a few little things, but we didn't change a lot because we didn't feel that we needed to. Like we don't believe that, oh, we are now publishers and now we have to change stuff just for the sake of it. So we improved a few things, but we didn't change a lot. We just started working, of course, on art and everything. Yeah.
If someone was bringing a game to you, do you have like a methodology now for how you would engage with them and start development process? Like, is it fully formed in your mind, or is it like very improvisational based on like every situation is different? Like, what's your...
Yeah, every situation is different for sure. I think the most important thing is like I rely on Sönke's judgment. If he's like triggered by the pitch, then I go with him, you know, like I totally support that, because like between us, like I'm more on the organizational side and on the like community management side and organizing and manufacturing and everything. He is more the creative part, and he can much better than I can just take a rough idea and just really look at it abstractly. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Like he can just like build on it in his head already and understand the potential of it. So I think we just go on a case by case. If we like the pitch, we like the idea. It doesn't matter at what stage the game is. I mean, it should. If someone presents a game to us, it should have been playtested a couple of times so that we know it works, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the minimum. But everything else, we just take it from there.
Are you surprised how much Kelp has resonated inside the hobby? I mean, it's made a lot of waves. Sorry, I couldn't help myself there.
We need a soundboard for that one. But
yeah, I've used that in a lot of posts in our Facebook group and Discord. It's like, hey, let's make some waves together because it fits.
Oh yeah.
It's all good.
Oh yeah, we're getting to the bottom of like all the puns that we can make using our card names and the adventure theme for X Seekers of Fortune. So we definitely understand. Like you got it. Once you find a good one, the one that people like kind of chuckle at, you gotta just write it.
Yeah.
Just like a wave.
Yeah. The most commented sentence when we were running ads was, "Kelp, I need somebody. Kelp, not just anybody. Kelp." Really like hundreds of people commented that on the ads.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So that came from the community? That wasn't like
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When we were running ads, they commented on the Facebook ads, and they put the Beatles lyrics in it.
It's
Kelp
funny
lyrics.
how everyone's brain goes to the same places. I mean, I remember I used to work in a grocery store, and I was one of those people who would make the sample dishes, and people would come by and try it. If I was making halibut, like every other guy would be like, "I'll have some halibut for the hell of it," and you're like, "Okay, how do you all have the same brain?"
Yeah. From the same, the same species, from the same society, who went to the same general schools. I mean, especially comedians always talk about how like they'll post a joke and then hundreds of people will post like the same follow up or the same like observation on the joke. So it's just it's what is it? It's mimic, like truly a meme of our brains. Sorry, do we get to the bottom of that one though? How did Kelp resonate? Did you have more to say on that? So we kind of got sidetracked by that Beetle lyric.
For sure. No, we didn't expect it at all to become what it has become, for sure. Like we did put a lot of work into the campaign and to promoting the game, and we knew that people would like it because on every playtest we had, people liked it. So we maybe had one person out of the 200 people we met throughout the conventions that was like, it's okay. But everyone else was like really like, oh, that's so cool and so fresh. And we were like, okay, I'm getting pumped again, like it's really, really good. Although I've explained it today 20 times, I'm still hyped about it because everyone is liking it. So that could have told us a little bit, but I mean, you don't sit there and be like, oh yeah, like it's gonna go kind of viral or however you call it. No, for sure not. It did take us, the Kickstarter campaign definitely took us by surprise.
Was it always the plan to kickstart Kelp?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was because I think for Carl, the designer, he had that in mind already. He came to us like, hey, you did a good Kickstarter, and I think this is a good Kickstarter game because we can have the shark miniature and we can do something with it and stuff. And for us, being a new publisher, having no distribution channels at all, we can't risk to just produce 2,000 games or 1,000 games and just try to go to retail. It's such a wasted money in the end, because for us, I prefer to make a good promotion plan kind of, and if it's a game that fits Kickstarter, I don't think every game should go to Kickstarter, but for this one we've thought that it could be successful, and I prefer to make a plan for promotion and put a budget on it, and we did spend a lot of money beforehand, but we knew that it has potential, so it can go somewhere, and we wouldn't have had the same outcome if we would have gone directly to retail. We wouldn't have printed 20,000 copies at once. Never, ever. So,
wow.
You said something there that really caught me. So, you said not every game should go to Kickstarter. So, in your mind, what makes for a good game going to Kickstarter? What kind of games should, and what kind of games maybe should not?
I think you have to be realistic. There are like tons of games out there, and doing a Kickstarter that can be successful is a lot of work. And if you really want to take that route and invest that much time and money, you have to be sure that you have something unique on your hands. And if you can also do some deluxe stuff and give people more components, then better. But even if you don't have deluxe and you don't have stretch goals and stuff like that, the game still should have a good storytelling and be unique, because otherwise you're not gonna be able to compete out there. Like there's so many games out there.
You need a strong voice for sure for the game.
Yeah.
Well, so this was your fourth Kickstarter, correct?
It was our fourth crowdfunding. We did also a crowdfunding campaign on a different platform in Germany, but it was the fourth. Yes.
Oh, okay. I see. Well, crowdfunding, like we, especially Danny and I, we use those terms probably interchangeably, maybe to the detriment of the other crowdfunding campaign, our managers. But, and I know you'd crowdfunded another game before, correct?
Yes. The card game Hunters of the Lost Creatures. That was the first game Kickstarter.
That feels like it's like a
Excellent.
spiritual twin to X Seekers of Fortune somehow. Because originally X Seekers of Fortune was called Lost Arts, and it was very much about hunting for lost things. So I'm very interested in this game now. So I'd have to.
Yeah. Is it in the English language market?
Yeah, and we actually already went to retail in the US, but we had really a unfortunate situation because when we were delivering the games to the US, our distributor Fun Again closed, and then we were like, oh, we don't even know where to storage the games now, and it took us a lot of time to find another company to take on the game, and we lost momentum. And then we just waited, did Kelp, and now we have US retail support, and we will relaunch it on retail in March then. Yeah.
Oh, that's super
Oh,
cool.
excellent. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking you were going to say like it's like we got everything funded and we printed everything and we sent it out in March 2020. The classic, COVID story.
No.
That's
No,
going to be
no,
like that. I have a feeling in a few years that's going to be a trope of movies. It's like somebody's going to be like, "I just got that new job and my life is looking good," and then the the date will come up and it'll be like March 20th, 2020. It'll just be a punchline for years to come. No, that's the. So you had run. So this is, like I said, it's your fourth crowdfunding, your second game on crowdfunding. Was there anything unique about Kelp's campaign that you didn't account for or that surprised you along the way? I mean, besides making a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that took us by surprise was actually the one thing. I recorded a podcast 2 days before we launched where I was asked, how do you prepare for stretch goals? And then I said, well, you have to have them kind of planned out, and we don't know the exact increments yet for the stretch goals, but we have to see how it goes, because you don't want to be there on day 2 and don't have any stretch goals anymore. That's what I said on the podcast. And then 3 days later, we were on day 2 and we didn't have stretch goals anymore because everything went so fast on the first day. And we were sitting there like, okay, this is what we planned for 30 days. And now on day 1, we have like 130,000 euros already. And we estimated to get around 200,000. That's where at some point we were like, okay, but we can't wait with the stretch goals, because we can't be like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you 2 new cards for 50,000 euros. That's stupid. So we just stuck by the plan of increasing it and offering them, and then day 2 it was like, okay guys, you have to wait now because we have to figure out new stretch goals for the remaining 27 days kind of, and that's the only thing that really was difficult. Yeah.
I think like shortly after I got on to Launch Boom, I think I got onto Launch Boom either the day before or the day of Kelp's like monumental success. And I do remember, I think you posted a thread. Well, maybe you did, or maybe I heard through the grapevine that that was like the kind of like big, like, oh no, like the stretch goals were not enough. Your campaign was like unaware that you would be hitting those highs, and you just did not have a roadmap, that for those levels at that frequency. So that is a good thing to know.
Yeah.
It's like maybe you do have to, at the very least, imagine getting to the moon, and if you don't quite get there, that's fine. But you have to like have it like an ever expanding ceiling just in case you blow up.
Yeah, kind of, maybe, I don't know, because I mean you can't really prepare for that. I think stretch goals in the end, they should never be unlimited, because for a creator you can not just be going out and just giving stuff for free all the time, because at some point your box will get too heavy and your production costs will get too high, and it doesn't matter if you have 500 people more or less on the project, it won't change anything. And what I also learned is that production costs can really go down when you go up to 5,000 units, 6,000 units. Everything above, it's minimal. It doesn't make that much of a difference if you have like 10,000 or 15,000 games, depending on the component. But we have a lot of components that actually don't change at all if we do 1,000 or 20,000 because they are so customized. So I think you can prepare for that. Or what we noticed also is we told everyone, we need some time. We have heard all of your wishes. We're gonna evaluate everything that we can do, and please wait. And people waited for a week. We didn't post any new stretch goals, and it was okay, you know.
Yeah.
So people kept backing.
also, yeah,
it didn't change. Yeah.
You can't give everybody
you
what they
think-
want all the time.
What do you think makes for a good stretch goal? Like if you're going into the next campaign, like how would you approach thinking about stretch goals if someone's playing their campaign? You know, what are the considerations? What do you think makes for a good stretch goal?
So I think you should either decide, are you going the stretch goal, are you taking that route or not? Like, are you all in on stretch goals and you want to make a game or a version of the game really deluxeified, unique, special, no one else would get that stuff ever again? Or you're just like, we're not doing any stretch goals, we believe in it, this is what we offer, and that's it. I think both options are really good. I think the one with the stretch goals just makes for a more interactive campaign, because at some point people don't comment anymore, don't have anything to say, are maybe not that excited because they are just like, okay, now I have the game, bye, I don't have to engage anymore, and you want engagement. So I think we would probably do that again. And I think for us, what has really worked is we have a really, really good looking, really nice retail edition that we have also sold also a lot, because not everyone wants to have the fancy stuff, which is fine. But then you take the deluxe edition and then just start having fun with it and just put like more deluxeified items. I don't like, or we don't like it when stretch goals are related to gameplay, because everyone should get the same gameplay. But
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think not everyone wants to have special dice or metal coins or whatever else we offered. So
Yeah.
That's a really great point. I think something we've almost intuited, which is like the stretch goal should probably be centered around the deluxe edition, the people who want extra, and that there should just be the regular edition for people who are just like, just give me the game. I don't need all the fancy stuff. Just give me the game.
yeah, exactly.
What do you think is people's most common misconception about kickstarting? Either from
Maybe that people now think we're millionaires. That's a huge misconception.
I'm sorry, this is a millionaires podcast. You're not a millionaire? I don't know. We might have to pause this episode.
Oh no, you should have asked for a tax return.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's different. We got like day one, the comment section on day one was that was the wild, wild west out there. Like people's expectations sometimes are crazy, to say the least. Like, I don't know, but also at the same time, having 20,000 backers and the same 50 people commenting throughout 28 days also shows you that's a very loud minority that's always asking for something. And then you also have the other 50 people that are engaged because they have fun and they are like wishing you well and just commenting nice stuff and talking between each other. So you have both people. I don't know what the biggest misconception is of Kickstarters. I think it's a very interesting space, and I think that people now, like the basic idea of crowdfunding, where you tell the people, I have an idea, can you please help me do it? That doesn't exist anymore, because you can only succeed on crowdfunding if you already have a kind of finished product and show everything. And I understand why it has come to this, because you have, as a consumer, you have so many options out there. Like, why would you risk your money for a project where you don't even know what the outcome is gonna be? So that's a difficult situation.
How did you manage to stay sane during the Kickstarter? Because I can only imagine that the stress is very high.
Yeah, it is. I didn't
just
eat for 3 days.
You didn't eat?
Oh,
anything?
wow.
No, I couldn't eat for 3 days. I had just like Sönke kept bringing me like bread with chocolate on it, something sweet, so that I could just eat. I was really, really stressed the first days, because somehow we were just looking at each other being like, what is happening here? It's like the two of us and so many people liking it. That's incredible, but what's happening? And all the comments and all the messages. I woke up to 150 emails every day at the beginning. And
oh no!
Oh my goodness!
That was a horror film, just like flashing before my eyes. The idea of me waking up and having that many emails in my inbox is just like horrific. But I'm also imagining you just sitting there with that chocolate bread and just like a cat, just he puts it down and you just slowly push it off of the desk in front of you.
I'll try later. Yeah, and after a few days it was fine, because we got used to it. Okay, it is like Alex Radcliffe, the YouTuber, sent me a message. She was like, "This could be a life-changing situation for you now," and I'm like, "Oh yeah. That's true. Yeah. This could change something in our lives now."
You're like, I hope it's for the best.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of maniacs now aware of you, so that's always. So I guess this, while we're on the topic of Kickstarter, I guess we should talk a little bit about the challenges you've run into post Kickstarter with the counterfeit copies of Kelp. I guess my question for you is, what is the state of the situation now, and what have been your biggest learnings from this experience that you would share with people as they're preparing to kickstart?
So the biggest surprise for me first was to learn how horrible the counterfeit situation is in general for all kinds of products. Because the worst thing for us was to deal with Amazon and eBay and all the other platforms. They are not the easiest companies to get in touch with. We noticed that there were listings with Kelp on Amazon 2 days before the campaign ended, because I was just Googling like, is there maybe new content or a new video about Kelp? And I just Googled Kelp Shark vs. Octopus, and it popped up on the shopping results, and I was like, what's that? That's not us, but that's all our images. And I spent kind of almost a month talking to robots on Amazon, trying to get the listings down. And we actually really believed that this company would be just trying to get cash out of people, because the project was successful. We had spent a lot of money on ads, everyone knew about it, and as we had so many backers that didn't use Kickstarter, they probably thought there are a lot of people out there that don't understand or don't realize that the game doesn't exist, so they will just go and buy it, which is understandable that there are people out there that think that. And we also learned about, I think we are the first board game to be counterfeited before it exists, but it definitely is not the first product of Kickstarter, coming out of Kickstarter, that has been copied before it exists. So it is a usual scam to take successful crowdfunding projects and just copy them while they're being manufactured. In other industries, that's a common thing.
At least the movie industry has to go through the process of making a movie from scratch and making a bad version of a good movie, or at the very least a popular movie. Like, it seems like they can just take your schematics, whatever you send in to the manufacturers, they can somehow get that through back dealings and just one for one copy it with worse materials. Is that essentially what was out there? Did you get a copy of the what is it, the I'm sorry, I'm losing my words, but did you get a copy of the counterfeit? Yeah, thank you, Danny.
We got photos of it. We don't. We have never seen a physical one where we got tons of pictures sent by people that bought it, and they didn't get files from our manufacturer. We know that 1,000% are sure that they didn't take the files from the manufacturer, because our manufacturer has different files than the ones that were used. So that's how we know. They took the files. They took the files. They took the files from Tabletop Simulator, because on Tabletop Simulator you can just go there into the workshop mode, right-click, download all the files, which is an kind of right-click. It's like maybe 2 clicks, but it is very, very easy to download everything that is on there. And I've actually reached out to Tabletop Simulator, and they are the only ones in the whole universe of people that I've reached out to regarding this that have not come back to me. And I think it's extremely dangerous to have a platform like this where they don't educate people what's happening with their files, because it's not about taking screenshots. You could always say, well, they took a screenshot, that's it. You can actually download the PDF that you have uploaded. And
wow.
what
That's definitely something for us to consider.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, people told us, oh, you should have put a watermark on it. It's like, yeah, use AI software and the watermark is gone in like 2 seconds. So that's a watermark doesn't protect you from anything. What the scammers actually did, they took the files from Tabletop Simulator. They took only the illustrations. They blew them up because we had them on low resolution. And they wrote all the typography on the cards again. They used a different font. They just made the files again. They put a lot of typo mistakes in it. So you know that's a fake thing. They just went by the Kickstarter page, counted all the components and copied them. I don't even think the Kickstarter page, because they would have sent a shark miniature somehow. They sent a fake Lego shark with the counterfeit copies, because we used Lego shark in our prototypes. So they sent a fake Lego shark, and that's what they have been selling.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
But I will say this is, I mean, if you still have a documentary making, bugging your body, this would make for a very compelling, like, especially modern era, like, just the idea of like having to call and getting robots that you're talking to. I mean, whether it be a documentary or a feature film, there is like a postmodern movie in the making here, I do want to say. So, maybe silver lining. It could be like one of your next projects.
Yeah, we did actually. So we didn't want to bother our backers because we want our communication to be positive, and we didn't want everyone to be like on the first day like, oh, please help us, there are bad people out there, and we try to get it handled. So in the beginning, I found 12 listings, I reported them. 3 days later, I got the message they got taken down. I thought, oh, that's it, done, let's continue. But then we realized that it's actually a bot probably making those listings, because they just uploaded, like, we got 12 deleted, 25 more appeared, like instantly. On
the modern day Hydra
on every page. And we didn't get through to speak to people. I actually reported so many on Amazon, and I could report them because I have our trademarks registered and everything. But as you know, trademark doesn't help you at all on any platform because no one respects it. So like 50% of the reports I made were accepted. The other 50% were rejected because it's a computer evaluating them. And in the confirmation email you get, this was evaluated by our softwares and an expert person. I'm like, I don't believe for a second that an expert person actually look at this, because then they would read my message that I include on there every time, and they would be like, oh yeah, you're right, maybe we should take it down because it's illegal. But this doesn't happen. eBay, the same thing. We just got like 50% of the ones taken down. The other ones were just left up there because they didn't find any believable reason why it's illegal. The scammers actually spent money on Amazon and Google to run ads on their listings so they could actually sell the product. And when we were sitting there, January 3rd, I was playing Dominion with Sönke and his son, and I got an email like, hey, the game looks great, but the rulebook is missing. Can you please send it? I was like, what? What is this?
Oh, no.
So someone had reached out to us and they had received this, and we were like, you have bought an illegal copy. Please send us pictures and let's continue the conversation. But this is not a real product you have.
Wow.
Send location, please, on way.
Does Amazon or eBay have, I mean, Amazon in particular, do they have any liability selling counterfeit product? I mean, their platform is facilitating theft. Are they liable in any way?
As far as I know, they are not allowed to do that. They are not allowed to allow those listings to exist. So when we got word that product was actually being sent out, we sent the update to our backers. We posted, we made a blog post about it, and we asked everyone to share this and help us report this. So that was the most incredible backer interaction I've experienced in my life, because we had an army of people in every country that we had just going to battle for us. That was so amazing. I wouldn't have expected everyone to really like be that active, but they got it like after 24 hours, like most of the listings were taken down. And we got a lead to someone working at Amazon. So I finally spoke to a person. And this person helped us. Like, I have a direct lead, I can send him listings that I find, and then those can be taken down. Plus they have also installed some other methods of recognizing the fake Kelp listings, so that if some go up, they go down immediately. And they told me, when you actually want to sell Kelp on Amazon, you have to tell us again, because otherwise we will also take down your listing. So yeah, at some point we have to adjust that. But yeah. Very, very difficult situation. But you can't imagine how many people reach out to us, like press coverage and Amazon. We had the European Commission reach out to us as well, because it's a wild case. It's still out there.
I'm sure it is, and you're going to be fighting it for a long time. And you have bots fighting bots basically on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of got into you did mention, you are in the European market primarily, and you have some experience trying to come across the seas and sell in America, and you're about to really have a lot of more experience with that. What are some differences between the European games market and the U.S. games market as you perceive them, as somebody from the European side of things looking at America?
I don't think I can really speak so much about it, because we are so young as a publisher, so we don't have that much experience on the selling side. On the consumer side, there are probably differences. We notice the games that we get pitched from European designers and the American designers, they feel very different. That we notice. But
what makes them different?
I don't know. I mean, Sönke is the better person to talk about that. But he mentioned that to me. He was like, some humor that it's there, it's fun, but I don't think it's gonna work in Germany. So on the way people approach games, which I don't know. We are not experts on the game market here, so I can't really speak on big differences. And also, we are just trying to do our business how we think we should do it. We don't even know how German publishers really do their sales business in Germany, so I can't really speak on that. Yeah.
I know on your website you mentioned you do localization services. Is that something you've started doing, and what has that been like, and what's your approach to localization?
We've started doing that. We have actually our first localized game arrive at the Hamburg port this week. So finally, it's there. We just have been scouting games on the internet, on BGG lists, on Instagram, etc. And we just if we like the game and think they fit our portfolio, we just reach out to the publisher and ask if the games are available for Germany or for German-speaking countries. And it has, we have a really cool lineup. I think we have, 6 games coming this year. So.
That's exciting.
Oh,
do you
Mm-hmm.
Do you distribute English-speaking games within Europe as well? Like, do you have any games from English-speaking countries that you're handling European distribution for?
Not in English. So we will handle the German language, and our idea is to set up distribution in Germany and in Austria and German-speaking Switzerland and the US. So we will have Kelp in English in the US. We have our first game also in English in North America. Canada is also included. And we have also taken a license from another game from a Chilean publisher and are bringing it to the US as well with our connections. So we are also open to taking some games from other publishers into the US and Germany as well. But all the other countries, we're looking for partners. All the other European countries. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Are there any specific keys to successful localization? In your experience, you've got 6 underneath your belt. What have you learned about localization from English to German?
I think the game has to be good, and it helps if the game is popular, of course, if it's popular in other markets as well. So we are actually, I think we're pretty lucky because we got Sea Dragons and Rebel Princess. Oh, Rebel Princess I actually have here. Rebel Princess.
Oh, very cool.
Oh,
We
cool.
got the license for that before Essen last year, and during the fair in Essen, a lot of publishers wanted to have those games, and because they were mentioned on some YouTubers channels, and they got kind of a little hype around it, and we already had the license, so it was pretty cool to not have to fight for a game on that stage, kind of. And then we had other German publishers come to us and be like, "Oh, you are Wonderbow. I keep hearing like Wonderbow has the license." And like, "Oh yeah, well, it's us." So we didn't know that the games would be kind of would get a little hype during Essen, but it definitely helps. If we haven't done any marketing on them yet, and we have already pre-orders on our web store, so that is pretty cool.
Wow.
So
Oh, I love that.
It
That's
is.
amazing.
It seems like when you're the localization team, you get to stand at the finish line and just, like they say, stand at the finish line and just recruit the winners, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, if they're winners, of course. I think it's what we notice is if you wanna get like a popular game, you have to be there. Like you have to be like, yeah, I take it, I confirm it. I'm not gonna negotiate. That's me. So because I think the competition is really big, but it's definitely not as much work to do a localization as it is to prepare a game like Kelp, where we worked like for a year only on the Kickstarter campaign. So that's definitely less work.
Do you manage the translation yourself, or do you have people that you outsource that to? What is that process like?
Different. We did Rebel Princess ourselves and then had someone look over it and correct it. Sea Dragon's the same thing. With Kelp, we're actually getting someone to do our German translation because we don't have enough time to do it ourselves. So yeah, it's just depending on the time we have.
Amazing.
Okay.
So,
Let's see. I mean, the only other thing I was going to ask, or not the only other thing, but we can go on and on about localization in the European market, I'm sure. But I guess in terms of like trends, if you're like looking out and out ahead of the market, going to these conventions, Essex and things like that, is there trends that you're seeing in Europe that maybe us Americans should be aware of before we, like as we're making games, if we're planning on going worldwide and we want to be in Germany, we want to be in Europe, are there things to be on the lookout for that are just around the corner?
I can't really tell if there are trends in Europe that aren't in America. I think actually when a game gets popular, it gets popular across the board, kind of, because the community that makes the game popular with the YouTube channels and stuff, it's pretty small compared to other industries. So if you talk about like unique Kickstarter-like games or games that are a bit hyped, there are probably differences looking at the family market and smaller games. There may be differences, but I don't know.
Okay.
what YouTube channels did you feel like had the biggest impact on elevating Kelp, or do you feel like it was mostly just being at the conventions and showing people that created that following going into the Kickstarter?
I think it's a mix. It's we always say, like, because we had a lot of people reach out asking, what's the success of the Kickstarter campaign? Like, can you teach us to do this? It's like, no, it's just it's a big puzzle, and you need to have a lot of puzzle pieces that just work well together. And in our case, we have a great game that is unique, that looks beautiful, and that a lot of people got to see because we went to so many conventions. And we were lucky enough to have a lot of content creators want to talk about the games, and ads worked as well. And so everything worked well together.
That's awesome.
Okay.
How long did it take you to key in on a winning ad? Like how long did it take you before you're like, okay, this is the right way to position it? And was it just one way to position it, or did you find 3 or 4 different ways to position it with different audiences that you felt was effective?
So we actually only ran ads for 2 months before we launched. So we had to come to results pretty quickly, kind of, before we could start scaling, so that we got actually some results out of it. The messaging was clear from the beginning: 2-player asymmetric game. Or the 2-player game of Shark vs. Octopus was our main headline, I believe. Audience-wise, we did test a lot, And there we went outside the board game interested people. So we targeted people that like to go to aquariums, or people that like to go fishing, or things like that. Marine biologists was also a very good audience.
I bet.
So I think that's how we actually managed to get out of the board game bubble, kind of, and reach people that haven't used Kickstarter before.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, the theme of the game actually being something like there's so many people out there who, at the very least, at one point, dreamed of being. Wait, what is the? Sorry, what is the term? I'm forgetting. People go to school to be, to study the oceans, and
Marine
it's like one of those marine biologists. Thank you, Danny. And it's just one of those big. Dream jobs I think people have that they idolize, and even if they don't become a marine biologist, they still think of it as, in the same way that we think of archaeologists as like, these heroes of land. Marine biologists are like could be potentially heroes of the sea, these noble scientists going out and exploring. And good for them. I should say this, I am deathly afraid of the deep ocean. That's like one of my like big fears. I don't even like the scene in Finding Nemo where they go into the darkness. It's just very scary for me. So more power to people who want to go and plunge those depths.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of shifting gears here back to publishing and finding new games. Where do you find that you're getting most of your solicitations for new games? I think you mentioned Carl stopped you on the floor. Was it at Essen or where? Mm-hmm.
At Essen.
Is that typical? Are you having more and more people with the success of Kelp emailing you saying, "I've got a game. What do you think?" What has it been like?
Yeah, we have a few people email us, and as we got so many emails, I started making game submissions form on the website so that we can collect the data, because we get so many emails regarding all different topics that they just get lost after a while. And I did post that on the Game Designers Lab Facebook group, and we have almost 100 game submissions now.
Wow.
Since then. That's a lot, yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know. We are still working through them, but yeah, people just reach out now.
And are they, at this point, are you just looking for games that you find interesting, or is it like, we know we want to make a game in this space or with this theme? What is your approach now to figuring out what are the next games that you're going to publish?
Yeah, so that's the same question, and other publishers ask us when we try to get the localization as games to localize, and we are small enough that we say we need to like the games ourselves, because we spend so much time working on them and promoting them on conventions. Like, if I have to teach a game 20 times a day, I still have to like it at the end of the day. So otherwise it's not a good game to have in your portfolio. So we know we're not going to do party games, we're not going to do kids only games, we're not going to do war games or games that are themed around real life wars. Those are the only four things that we have set for ourselves, but other than that, we just have to like it.
Yeah, that's very cool. And when you're evaluating a game, is it just that you like it, or and that they don't fall into those four categories, or are there other things that you're looking for that you have, like a great game has this, and this, and if we see it, then we know that it's checked off all of our magic boxes?
I don't even think, Zynke is a head scout for us, but I don't think that we can say a good game has to have these things mapped out. But we need to be triggered by the pitch, and it has to feel unique. Like, we don't need to have like the 10th game that is like a city building game or something like that. So it can be a city building game with a twist. So I need to know what the twist is.
What is the twist?
Yeah, exactly. So it has to be a bit unique, because otherwise, that's what we felt with Kelp. We felt it was very fresh with the two asymmetric roles playing against each other. And if we don't see or don't feel that uniqueness, kind of, then it's just too much risk for us to invest in developing and doing like a whole year of promoting and Kickstarter campaign and everything.
One of the things that I think a lot of people hear about in the industry is, hey, don't put a lot of time into your flavor or your art, because a lot of publishers will take it and then they'll strip it all away and reskin it for what they feel like they need to market in the, whatever's going to work in the market currently. Is that something that Wonderbow has done or would do, or how do you guys think about taking a game and then repackaging it in a way that you think will be better positioned in the market?
So I think either the game should be presented really neutral with an idea. So we had, when we were at Nuremberg, we went to the pitch event, and I remember one particular guy who made a really nice board that was just very graphic, and all the cards just had a placeholder that said picture, but the graphic design was done, so I understood how to work with the cards and how the symbols work, but it didn't have any theme or art on it that maybe I would have liked, maybe I wouldn't have liked it, but it didn't distract me. So I was really, when he was pitching, I was really focused on how do I play this game. So I think this works really well. On the other hand, Kelp, the way how the game works is so tied to the theme that it wouldn't have worked if we wouldn't have had the theme already. So I think it's either the game mechanics and the theme work so well together that you explain the rules by explaining it thematically, or I prefer not to have a lot of art or theme on it and just understand the gameplay better. So one of two.
Love it.
This is a interesting, like, do you think it would be fruitful to have like a very broad theme, like say, cops versus robbers, just like the idea of like one person, like asymmetrically, one person's like, authority and one person's like the crime thing. And then you come in with that broad idea, and then you could like narrow it down to like a specific time frame or a specific aesthetic, that you could take to the next stage, as an example.
Yeah, I actually think if you go with the theme, like what impressed us with Kelp was that he could explain the rules by explaining the behaviors of sharks and octopuses, for instance. So he said, so the shark has to move forward because sharks swim forward. And the shark, every turn, it moves at least one space because sharks in real life can't stand still because then they can't breathe. So that was so tight with the theme that we actually enjoyed just getting into the game and getting into the characters. If the theme is loose, kind of on the game design, then I would prefer it if the designer also takes it like that. It's like, it could be this, so this is a very open theme, it could be this, it could be also something else, let's focus on the gameplay. Then I would prefer that in a pitch situation.
Awesome.
Okay.
So on your website, one of the things you mention is wanting to make sure that there are creative and diverse games in the world. So one question I have for you is, what makes a game creative in your opinion? I think you've talked a little bit about this, but if you want to expand on it.
I think it's all about the unique experience that you can have when you play a game. So I wouldn't even say a game has to be very complicated in terms of components. You can have a very simple card game that is still very creative in gameplay and looking at the illustrations. So for us, it's very important that every game looks really, really good and has really good art on it. And that's something that we value, because as Sönke always says, there are not a lot of objects or things that you stare at them for such a long time, like board games. Like when you play like a certain thing, you sit there and you look on the board for 2 hours and you think what to do, and you have your cards. So you really, like, you don't even look at the Mona Lisa for that long if you go to a museum. So, but you look at a board game for a really long time, so it has to look really good and give you like an enjoyment by just playing it, also visually. And
the Louvre needs to open a board game wing, I think. There should be just framed cards and boards. You can just ponder on your way to the Mona Lisa. Same question about diverse. Like, what in your mind makes a game diverse? What are you looking for when you look for diversity in games?
I think diversity on the one hand, of course, who's made the game, but also on a diverse experience on playing games. Like, we don't want to make the same games all the time. But you should enjoy the fact that board games can be so different and can give you so many different emotions when playing them. So,
yeah, 100%.
or maybe we just say we just don't want to focus on anything strictly because we just want to have fun doing the games that we do. So there's no need on focusing now on anything.
So if you were talking to game designers who were looking for publishers, what advice would you have for them in terms of preparing to present and pitch to publishers?
So you should, of course, know your game in and out and have play tested it a lot and just have a really good elevator pitch. One sentence, 2 sentences, and that is what has to catch me. And
Love it.
And don't pitch don't even pitch with mechanics. I think it's a deck builder with this. No, that comes later. Like
Yeah.
like get me into the like why should I play your game kind of experience feeling. You know that I think that's the best thing for us.
Yeah, the emotional core is key. Then that's like I think the people who've gravitated towards our game. It's not because in fact, like some of the biggest fans of our game have not been haven't come from the TCG side of things. They've actually come from like the tabletop RPG side of things, where they just like a good theme, a good story, and feeling as though they're a character doing something. Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. It's like, when somebody starts describing their game as like you said, like a deck builder with, worker placement mechanics and stuff like that. It's like, I start getting that tinnitus, ring in my ear where it's just like, okay, get to the part where I care.
Yeah,
I mean, we do care about mechanics, but on the second conversation, kind of, or like 5 minutes later. But catch me first with a different emotion. Yeah.
Well, and that's what the consumer is going to be looking at, right? They're going to glance at the box, and it's how quickly can you transport them to this world? How quickly can you engage the imagination, and get them eager to experience the game? And then now how does this all work? And so that's
I mean, cool. For us, all the games I want to buy, I just look at the art. And then at some point, Sönke is like, should we look at the gameplay too? I say, yeah, we can do that later. But it looks really good.
Yeah.
So.
As two people who grew up playing Magic, it was always the artwork on the Magic cards that drew me into the game. And, it's like, as I learned the game, I learned to love the mechanics and the depth of it. But Magic the Gathering was, its Siren's Call is always the artwork first and foremost.
Yeah, that's been kind of the most fun experience for us, is going through the art direction process. I mean, obviously, as a small operation, you do everything yourself, as you know, and getting to work with incredible artists from all over the world and really bring things to life. I mean, as creative people, that is, I mean, if that's all this ever was, like the experience of the art direction, like that would be immensely satisfying in and of itself. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
So I do want to ask you a little bit about your background in filmmaking and a little bit about how your background in filmmaking informed your approach to game making. So
ask away.
Was there anything you took from your filmmaking into the world of making games?
I think what both worlds have in common is the world of creating things or making projects. Like, it's also the same. I had a startup where I was producing beer, so this is a very different different company again. But my passion is to make things happen. So I'm a maker, kind of, and this is what I love. If it's a documentary, if it's a game, if it's something else, I love the process of having this idea and turn it into something that exists. So it's not that different to do a film or do a game or do a beer. Of course, you have different suppliers and everything, but the core planning of a project and executing a project is not that different.
We also came from a filmmaking background, and I think the thing that we were most compelled by with games is that you know that a game will work by the time you're going to people asking for money. Whereas with a film, oftentimes you're trying to sell them on an idea, and then you have the immense pressure of execution, and there's so many things that can go wrong. So for us, almost game making felt like a relief in that there wasn't this whole, I need to pitch you on something conceptual, and then get, you know, because I can sit down and I can show it to you, and you know it's good before you decide to give me $1,
Yeah.
you know.
But only because only because crowdfunding is interpreted like that, because people expect to have a kind of finished game already. But I mean, years ago you could have also just started or tried to crowdfund a game idea and take all your backers into the development process as well. It would have been possible at some point.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, but the equivalent in like movie making, I guess we were narrative driven filmmakers. I mean, documentary probably has a different approach to it. Like, I guess a documentary, you could cut a short little reel of like footage that you know you're going to use, and maybe get an interview or two to cut it in with. But in, like, I guess if you were trying to do that for narrative film, what you could do is like shoot the movie on your iPhones with your friends first, and then show them that, like, show them the script acted out that way, and hope that sells it. It's just like, I guess for us, it was just like, we can make it in Tabletop Simulator, or well, at the time it was Tabletopia, and then we can invite anybody to come over and try it out, and they will see the experience. They'll be able to give us feedback that we can execute upon. So I think that was, you know, in that sense, it's like, you know, you can get much further into the process and be so much closer to the final product and actually show people that, versus like in filmmaking where you can barely, you know, there are methods, but it's still a high cost ceiling, you know, even just to get your friends together and shoot on iPhones and edit that footage together. That's still a lot of time and potentially a lot of money. Versus like the amount of money that Danny and I put into this before, you know, put into X Seekers of Fortune before we were ready to start taking on, you know, like the costly things. We were basically able to show the game off for, I don't want to say $0. It wasn't $0, but, you know, probably fewer than 1,000.
Yeah.
And it's also a process that can be understood better by people that follow you. Even if the game isn't complete, they can understand whatever version you put out there, versus a film. If you publish just a script or something, people don't have an idea what actually the end result will be. So it's much easier to get people along and just to follow the project.
Was World's Fastest your first documentary, or was Elsewhere?
No, and The World's Fastest was the first one we made. Yeah. So I actually had quit my job in the agency I was working before, and I wanted to freelance because I noticed I can just have more free time and earn more money if I freelance versus being in a work for a big company. And I think 3 weeks after freelancing, I met the director of The World's Fastest, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do that project. So I canceled all my freelance projects and just started working on the unpaid documentary. And yeah. That was also our first Kickstarter campaign too. I didn't have a clue how Kickstarter works back then.
Oh my goodness. And was it successful?
It was the worst 30 days of my life.
Oh man. It was just from the stress of it, or there was other conspiring factors? Yeah.
No, so we knew we would need to have a trailer. So The World's Fastest was shot in the US. So we traveled to the US for a week, and we shot some scenes with the protagonist. We knew how the storyline would be and everything. And we had a great trailer, and then we prepared the Kickstarter page. We launched, and then we were like, so let's tell people about it. We didn't know anything about doing pre-marketing before a Kickstarter. So that's why it was like, I felt like, I don't know how you call those people that just come from weird companies that knock on your door with like dark suits and want to grab money out of you. So I felt like such a person. It was just like someone who's just trying to collect debt or something like that. So I felt I was pressing
even
people
worse.
for money. I felt so bad because I felt like, oh my god. And our goal was, I think, 58,000 euros back then. Which is super realistic to make a documentary. I mean, it wasn't even a third of our budget, but because we had other funding options, and we managed to get 67,000 in the end. But we funded like 3 or 4 days before the campaign ended, so I felt like I had to really go out and promote this project and ask people to be involved and fund it, which was extremely stressful.
Oh, I bet.
It was a very different situation back then, because we didn't know the concept of you have to do the campaign before the campaign. But this is how it works now. And for Kelp, we did like 8 months of campaign before the campaign.
Yeah.
Very different situation now.
And did you have a different approach by the time you got to Elsewhere, or how did you get to the, because Elsewhere, was that something that he had already filmed before coming to you?
Yeah, so Elsewhere Alone in Africa is a documentary about a young man who's not that young anymore, who traveled across Africa by bike by himself, and he filmed everything.
That's
And we actually were producers on this film before we made the campaign, and we actually had the idea to make a crowdfunding, not to finance the making of the film. That we did ourselves, we put our money into it, but we wanted to do a crowdfunding campaign to finance a tour across Germany where he went to all the cinemas.
Oh, wow.
And to promote the cinema tour. That was a different approach because we knew the stress we had from the project before. We knew we don't want to have that level of stress with this project. We want to just be able to make it really good. And then we'll use crowdfunding also as an advertisement platform, get people involved and tell people all about our cinema tour that we want to make and sell some DVDs. Because actually back then, 2018 when we did it, people bought DVDs.
Wow, the world changes so fast.
It's so fast.
I know.
Yeah.
I think the death of the DVD market was kind of the death of like my dreams of being a filmmaker, because I feel like that's where you made your money. I think even Matt Damon said it in an interview on Hot Ones. It's just like without that, it's like I don't see the point. For me personally, I don't see the point of trying to chase streaming. And it just doesn't feel like a movie can make back its budget with streaming, at least the budgets that you want to put into it.
Yeah.
Well, so you've experienced crowdfunding. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We had a different approach of financing the film back then because I didn't want to go to like official film funds in Germany. I actually started a conversation with one in Hamburg. They told us, no one knows you. You're not going to get funding. Which I was like, oh, nice. That's what a film fund is all about. If you have to be known, okay. So we actually looked at what is the film about. It's about someone who rides a bike. We looked at the bike. We looked at, you have so many components on a bike. Let's ask the manufacturers of those components if they want to give us money so we can make the film. And we got 35,000 euros together from all the bike companies. We just approached them and we said, hey, we're going to put you on the credits and we'll give you some social media content for your channels and you can be part of a film, and that was pretty good. Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea. Do you think that you'll end up making any more films?
Maybe. Never say never to creative projects.
I like that answer. Joel, I think you had a question you wanted to ask.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to see, we were talking about crowdfunding, and, you have experienced crowdfunding films, you have experienced crowdfunding games. Which one did you find more challenging, and what did you think were the main differences between those two?
Oh, definitely the film. That was more challenging because crowdfunding is, in the end, kind of a pre-order platform where you have to wait a long time. But with games, you show a product and people get something in their hand. With a film, maybe they get a DVD, not anymore. They get a streaming link or something, but they don't own anything that they can be excited about. Yeah. And that's way more difficult to explain, for sure.
I had some friends reach out to me recently who I had produced for in the past, and they wanted me to come and help them raise money. And I'm like, well, what is your plan to get money back into the hands of your investors? And they're like, well, it's kind of about supporting the arts. And I'm like, okay, but that's not that compelling for people who don't have that much money to shell it out. Like, you got to be part of this. Maybe if it's something they're really passionate about, but at least with a game, right, you're delivering a product. So
yeah, exactly.
I could see why that would be many more times much more difficult with the film.
It's probably why so many people are moving, like so many creatives are moving to the game making space versus the filmmaking space. Like that's almost like a legacy art form at this point versus like the cutting edge of an expanding market.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I think that's
did you have
all
any
of our
more?
interview questions. No, that's all I got.
Yeah.
I'm out.
For the most part, yeah, I know. We got all that done in just over an hour and a half. Well, Danny, was there any the key takeaways that you had from this conversation that you thought maybe you could sum up?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I've learned so much from listening to Laia is just that, with complex problems, there's not one size fits all solutions. You really have to look at what you're trying to accomplish, study all the different pieces, and figure out how to assemble that unique puzzle. And don't look at somebody else's roadmap and assume that you can just apply it to yourself. Again, I know it's not really part of the game conversation, but just the ingenuity of being able to look at the bike and say, how can we find someone who will support us, and just breaking down the bicycle into its components and going to the manufacturers and understanding that they would find value in the content that you could create and the exposure that it would bring for their. I mean, it's the best content you could get in the world. None of those companies could afford to send someone to Africa to go across Africa and use their. So, I found that all very, very, very inspiring. So that's my big takeaway from today's conversation.
No, and mine is just, game making is kind of where it's at right now, and it's like there's just so much exciting terrain. And when you hear a great pitch, just like, pursue the thing that makes your brain go haywire and makes you think at 1,000 miles a minute. That's once you get to that place, once you start, once your brain starts really processing that means, okay, I think I found what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And leave yourself open for different creative projects. Like Laia said, it's like there might be a film in the future for her. You don't know what your final form is going to be. Pursue the idea, pursue the meaning, and then let it take the final form of what it's meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a total workaholic. Like, I work 7 days a week almost, and I'm always on my phone and computer because I'm working. And I always told myself, like, I have to really love what I do because I spend so much time on it. So we're trying to make our hobbies our work, kind of.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree 100%. Well, we definitely live in that working 24/7 mode. I mean, it when you love something, it's hard to stop. You're always just you want to move the piece down the board, so to speak.
Yeah, it constantly brings up new challenges, new things for us to think about, and we're going to keep digging into those new challenges and those new frontiers and tell you our experiences through the podcast. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and while you're subscribing, just drop down and ring that bell, because then that bell will ring when our podcast is hot and fresh out of the oven for you each week, so you can get it right when it comes out. And if you're not a YouTube viewer, we highly recommend. We do visuals, and we're pretty handsome people, I would say. But if you don't do YouTube, you can always find us on any of your podcatching apps, Apple Podcast, I'm sure Spotify, Lastcast, anywhere that you can find podcasts, you can find us. And while you're there, if you don't mind, just stop by and give us a little review. All we ask is for 5 stars. We're a 5-star podcast, so leave a 5-star review. It's just, we give these to you for free, so why don't you give us to that in return? Well, with all that said,
review, just really emphasize Joel in that review, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep me out of it.
Keep his name out of your damn mouth or off your damn keyboard. All right. So, Danny, I believe it is time for our something random this week, and I'm actually pretty excited because you told me to go grab my whiteboard and my dry erase marker. So I'm pretty excited about what this is all going to involve. So why don't you pitch it to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be another quiz, head-to-head quiz show.
Okay.
And it is a cinema quiz that's inspired by sharks and octopuses. So, and it is. I'm not gonna. I think there's definitely some answers that are some questions that are okay, and some of them that are quite difficult. So,
great. Looking forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will give the first question. Joel, you might have to turn your camera on for this so that we can see
Oh, yeah, that's right.
your answers. So what I'll do is I'll ask the question. These are all multiple choice. I'll give you your options, and then you'll write down what your answer is. And whoever has the most points at the end wins. All right.
Okay.
So, question number 1. Which film, considered a pioneering work in underwater documentary, was filmed by Jacques Cousteau and won the Palme d'Or at Cannes? Is it A, The Blue Planet, B, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, C, Le Monde du Silence, The Silent World, or D, Ocean World 3D?
Wow. That's a really serious question.
I'm going to drop into chat the options so that you can. In fact, I'll put the whole question in there so that you guys can visually read it.
Are we going to reveal our answers one at a time, or will we reveal our answers
Jacques
all at the
Cousteau.
end?
You're putting me on the spot. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just say, like, last time we did this on a show, Joel and the guest got all the questions wrong. So
Okay. Well, we're gonna
apologies in
Danny-
advance.
All good.
Yeah, Danny likes his trivia to be at Jeopardy level.
I see.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with this one.
Okay. And what do you got, Joel?
Sorry. Timed. I answered C, The Silent
All right.
World.
All right, and Laia had B, Life Aquatic, and the answer is Silent World. So that's 1 point to Joel.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the heels of the Life Aquatic, in in which Wes Anderson film does a character named Steve Zissou seek revenge on a mystical shark that killed his partner? A, Rushmore, B, Darjeeling Limited, C, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, or D, Moonrise Kingdom? And I've dropped that into chat.
Which one will be?
This is kind of like this is how American tests are, Laia, is where if you read through the entire test, half the questions will answer the other half of the questions, and that's how our standardized
I
testing
noticed
works.
I noticed that. That's
All
the
right.
second
Yeah.
question.
There we go. And what do you got, Joel?
Boom.
All right.
C, The Life Aquatic.
That's 1 point
you're
to each
putting
of you.
My actual favorite Wes Anderson movie, personally.
Yeah, that's mine as well. All right, so for the next
Okay.
question, The Abyss, directed by James Cameron, features an underwater encounter with a non-terrestrial intelligence. What is the primary setting for this film? Is it A, a submarine, B, an oil rig, C, a deep sea trench, or D, an underwater research station?
It's something underwater.
Yeah, I'm
All
pretty
of
sure.
the above.
If you were to ask me, I would say all four of those were probably locations in the film. So the question is, what is the primary location? Well, I'm going to go. I think I know which one I'm going with. Do you know which one you're going with?
I'm gonna guess. Let's go with D.
All right, and Joel, what do
Okay.
you got?
I put C, a deep sea trench.
Laia got it. Joel did not. They were tied 2-2.
Oh, woo!
What? As I said, though, I bet if I watch the movie, a deep sea trench is a location in the film.
Perhaps. Question 4.
Perhaps.
Which documentary directed by Rob Stewart aims to dispel myths about sharks and expose the shark fin industry? Is it A, Blue Ocean, B, Sharkwater, C, The Cove, or D, Blackfish?
Oh, I've seen The Cove and Blackfish, but I don't know who directed them.
What were the first two options, Danny?
Shark fin.
We have A, Blue Ocean, B, Sharkwater, C, The Cove, D, Blackfish. And the question is, which documentary directed by Rob Stewart aims to dispel myths about sharks and expose the shark fin industry?
Yeah, I also forgot. You are dropping these in the chat, so I could be reading that there. So the last question proved my assumption from the first two questions wrong, which was Danny was going to make all the answers C. So I don't think
now
it
The
can
Cove
just
is
default
about
to C.
dolphins, and
About
Blackfish is
dolphins?
about orcas. So
Yeah, and
probably
that's
shark
why
water.
I went with B, shark water.
Yeah.
What do you got, Laia?
Well, yeah, I said shark water
All right.
because of the name.
3-3. Tied up. You both are correct.
Tied up.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. In 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a film adaptation of Jules Verne's novel, what is the name of the submarine captained by Nemo? Is it A, the Nautilus, B, the Neptune, C, the Nereus, or D, the Poseidon?
I don't know how to spell that, but I think I know which one I'm going
In
with.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a film adaptation of Jules Verne's novel, what is the name of the submarine captained by Nemo? A, the Nautilus, B, the Neptune, C, the Nereus, or D, the Poseidon?
Okay. I'm ready when you are.
I am. I'm going with A.
Okay. I am going with
Oh.
A as well.
All right, it is tied at 4-4. You guys are both correct.
Oh, wow.
And we're on to question 6. It was the Nautilus.
How many
6.
questions are there?
There are 10. So
Oh,
we
wow.
are,
Okay.
we're almost there.
Wow.
Which film
Halfway there.
features a rare portrayal of a giant octopus as the main antagonist terrorizing the coast of California? A, It Came From Beneath the Sea, B, Tentacles, C, The Beast, or D, Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus?
Well, that's a movie, at least, that I know of.
Which film features a rare portrayal of a giant octopus as the main protagonist, terrorizing the coast of California? A, It Came From Beneath the Sea, B, Tentacles, C, The Beast, or D, Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus?
Okay.
I'm gonna go with D.
Okay, so one of us is going to be, well, we could both be wrong. I'm going with A. It Came From Beneath the Sea.
It is A, It Came Beneath the Sea. So that is Joel for 1. So it is 5-4 with Joel in the lead. And now for question 7. In which French film does an octopus play a significant role symbolizing the protagonist's struggle and connection with nature? Is it A, Amélie, B, The Big Blue, La Grande Bleu, Oceans, or La Vive Aquatique? And I apologize for not being able to pronounce any French words.
I know which one it isn't.
Okay. I was about to say this is like one of those places where like my film blind spot bites me in the ass because I had never have watched Amelie. But
I have watched Amelie, but I don't remember an octopus being there.
Let's see. I'm going to go with
But maybe
just
it
that
is
one.
that.
I have I can't tell you because I usually have a pretty good memory for movies. So if I had seen Amelie, I would know for sure. And it's the type of weird thing that I could imagine being in Amelie. So I almost went with it as a trick question, but I have decided on which one I'm going with.
All right, what do you got?
I'm going with Amelie.
Amelie.
I'm going with The Big Blue.
It is The Big Blue. So
Oh.
Joel has pulled ahead 6-4, but there are enough questions for a comeback. So let's.
I'm so bad at film quiz. You should have told me that. It's not my expertise.
Should have given you a study
She's
guide.
a film. Yeah. Well, also, I mean, this is a classic. I don't know what the education system's like in Germany, but Americans are pretty programmed to do pretty well at multiple choice questions. So I could have the home field advantage here.
And Joel spent a lot of time
Yeah.
working in movie theaters.
I did. About a decade
question
of my
8.
life, actually.
Shark Tale, an animated film that features a vegetarian shark, is a production of which studio? A, Pixar Animation Studios, B, DreamWorks Animation, C, Walt Disney Pictures, or D, Blue Sky Studio? Shark Tale, an animated film that features a vegetarian shark, is a production of which studio? Pixar, DreamWorks, Disney, or Blue Sky?
It's pardon the pun, but I didn't even realize that was the hook to Shark Tale. All right, I'm ready.
I'm guessing DreamWorks.
All
I
right, Joel, what do
too
you have?
guess DreamWorks.
All right, you both got it. So it is 7-5. Okay. Number 9. Which documentary focuses on the complex intelligence and emotional capacities of octopuses, specifically through the lens of one diver's relationship with an octopus? A. Octopus Making Contact. B. The Octopus Teacher. C. My Octopus Teacher. Or D. The Soul of an Octopus.
That I know.
Man. Yeah, I think you had to. That's how they get you in the multiple choice. Okay. I'm just going to go with the vanity of Americans. Are we ready?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going with C. My Octopus Teacher.
All right, you're both
I
correct.
did as well.
So it is
That was
8-6.
actually the inspiration for Kelp.
Was it really?
Really?
Yeah.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
We could have. Yeah, that it made a big yet again, pardon the plot. It made a big splash here in America. I knew about it, but I never got to see it. So, it would be maybe a
You
good
should
movie
see it.
board game,
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
a
should
good
see it.
movie
You can.
board game pairing.
Yeah, for sure. You can, when you watch it, totally ignore the story of the guy if you want, because some people like it, others don't. Have you watched it?
Not yet. It's high on my
Okay.
list of films to watch.
Yeah. It is very
I
nice.
kinda
It's
heard-
super informative, but the story of this diver having a midlife crisis and then saying, I'm gonna go diving every day, instead of like other people would be like, oh, maybe you spend time with your family. So
Yeah.
that's a bit
Yeah.
controversial. But yeah, he could do that. So
I heard about as much. I heard like, man, that movie would have been great if it wasn't for his story. That also reminds me
it's
of
a
the book
very
House of
privileged
Leaves.
story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Being able to leave your family behind to go swim with an octopus seems.
Yeah, he lives like right at the beach in South Africa in a beautiful house, and
Oh, wow.
the whole film begins like how his life is so dramatic and he needs to change it. It's like, if you live in a house like that, I don't know if it can be that bad, but yeah, I mean, whatever.
It's one of the things I try
Alright.
to remind myself is no matter what level you ascend to, you're always going to have worries and problems and, like want something different. So just try to remind yourself that it's not going to change as you go up the ladder. At least that aspect of it. You're always going to be miserable.
Yeah, $1 million Kickstarter doesn't absolve you of worry, correct?
Correct.
It adds to
Yes.
the worry, I assume. All right, question 10. Open Water, a film based on true events, showcases the survival struggle of two divers left behind in shark-infested waters. What distinguishes the film's approach to storytelling? A, use of actual footage. B, minimalist cast and setting. C, nonlinear narrative. Or D, animation and live-action blend. And that question again is, Open Water, a film based on true events, showcases the survival struggle of two divers left behind in shark-infested waters. What distinguishes the film's approach to storytelling? A, use of actual footage. B, minimalist cast and setting. C, nonlinear narrative. And D, animation and live-action blend.
I haven't watched it, so
Yet again,
I
one
can't
of those-
say it.
But you can't say what?
I haven't watched the film, so I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I have an assumption. I'm just going to say I feel like this is one of those questions where any one of those answers could be true about the film, but I know which one I believe would be what they would have sold the film on and the marketing, like when the actors talk about it and stuff like that. Are we ready?
Okay. Yep.
I go with
All right.
B.
Well, no. I went with B as well, so no matter what,
Yeah.
You're both
the
right.
score stays the same.
All right.
Yes.
All right. I think Joel wins 9-7. Very good showing on both
Dang.
parts, though. I don't
Very
think I
good
would have
guessing
gotten.
on my part.
I would have scored about what
litigate.
Laia scored, I think, at best. I would have done
Yeah.
much worse.
I would litigate the one that I missed, the Deep Sea Trench and the Abyss. I might have to go and watch the Abyss again. I think they just released it like actual restoration, which has been controversial. It hasn't gotten a restoration, but I want to watch the movie again and see how much of it takes place at Deep Sea Trench, because I think a lot of it does.
Ah, okay. He can't
My
get
sour
one wrong.
grapes. No, well, if I get two wrong, that's fine. But if I get one wrong, that's when I get like turned, triggered, as you would say. All right.
Well, that's all I
that
got.
was a great game, Danny. Yeah, I had a great time playing that one. Thank you for supporting me in my American education with the multiple choice. Laia, are multiple choice questions big in Germany as well? When in high school?
I don't remember. I don't think in high school, to be honest. Maybe in university, but I studied in Holland, so I don't know how German universities are. I think they have multiple questions too. I didn't, though.
You were born in
Open
Spain,
questions. I was born in Spain, yeah.
In Valencia, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And,
Oh,
and
wow.
when did you move to Germany, or did you?
When
move
I was
to...
11.
Oh, okay. And then you grew up in Spain for the first 11 years of your life?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully we can get you back on the show to go more into the European education system. You know, I think that there's a game concept somewhere buried in there. But before we get out of here, Laia, where would you like to be found? Where should people find you online and find out what you and Wonderbow are up to?
We have Wonderbow Games as a handle across all platforms. We are not active on all platforms, but mainly on Instagram. And we were actually pretty active on TikTok a while ago, but it's just we have too much on our plate to do more social media content. Our website is active. Our Discord is pretty active too. So on our website, you can find a link to our Discord, which is a very nice community that we have.
Well, Danny, do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Well, I definitely want to check out Elsewhere, Alone in Africa. That seems like an amazing documentary, and I've been fascinated with the African continent since we've started developing Dynasty, especially with Kia. So I think that would be a fun one to...
Yeah, you can actually watch it on YouTube. It's on an
really?
official YouTube in the US. Yeah, I have to find the link because I can't access the link from Europe, but it's an official YouTube channel where we have uploaded it. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll check it out.
Cool.
Yeah, send that to us and we'll put it in the show notes. But otherwise, thank you so much, Laia, for joining us. Danny, thank you for being here as my co-host. I always appreciate it. Thank you for preparing this interview. And this has been Danny. I've been Joel, reminding you that you must start somewhere. So why not here? Thanks for listening.
Theme music by James Hilden. Produced and edited by William Wymore.